Welcome, dear listener, to the Right Here, Right Queer podcast. This is Noah Hawthorne, and today I'm joined by Robin Jo Margaret. Welcome.
Hello, I'm Robin. I write mostly fantasy and monster romance and erotica.
So you have been pretty busy lately. Which of your books are you most excited to talk about today and why?
I'd like to talk about an anthology titled She Was Monstrous, which is one of the things that I've been busy with because I organized it, and it will be coming out in a couple weeks. It's a monster romance anthology about monster women, because usually it's the men that are monsters and women are the humans, and I wanted to change it up a bit.
Yeah, the cover is beautiful, and I love, it's giving me, very gothic romantic vibes. What was that like, working with 10 different authors to put it together?
I just kind of put the open call out there, and we made a separate Discord just with the authors interested, and until the last minute I didn't really know if someone was going to submit something, how many people were going to submit, but we had a really good number, and the stories were all amazing, and having a chat even with the people that didn't make it to submit something was really interesting, because we could all hype each other up while writing, and it was really nice.
That sounds amazing and very overwhelming, but it looks like you've put together something really beautiful. I like the idea of steampunk London and forest nymphs and all of that, and I feel like a lot of these authors are new to me, and I always like discovering new authors, so that'll be cool too.
Yeah, we have some smaller authors and some that are well known, but usually just in their niche maybe, so it's really nice that we can mix up everything and do this together.
Anthologies are something I'm slowly learning more about, and it is, like you said, nice to be writing with other authors and hyping each other up, and I feel like it kind of reignites the spark, you know what I mean? It's kind of a lonely thing, writing, and it's nice sometimes, but it's nice to have that community.
Yeah, it was really nice. We could also share art that we commissioned, and we were all excited about the project, so it was really fun to do in the end.
So that comes out in April. Do you have anything else coming out that you're working on right now?
I'm working on a novella. It's called Rescuing Krampus. It started as a serial on my Patreon, but it's going to be coming out for the public, I think in May, but I'm not sure. I'm trying to edit it right now, but I'm not in the mood for editing, so it's going slowly.
Yeah, I hear that.
Yeah.
Right now, it's the Trans Rights Readathon, and I see that you got Love at Work site. Looks really cute.
That one was a contribution for another anthology that I was part in October of last year, and I plan to continue the story of those two characters because I really like them, and I kind of want to add a little bit as a bonus content. In the meantime, I thought it would be nice to share the current story since it's short and it can be read as a standalone, so...
Very cool. I gotta say, your covers are so beautiful. Do you do them yourself? Did I read somewhere that you do drawing?
I tried drawing years ago and I gave up because I couldn't do it perfectly right away, so I wish I knew how to draw, but I don't. But one of my guilty pleasures, let's say, is commissioning artists.
Yeah, that's definitely an indie author thing, I think.
Oh, it's so nice because everyone has their own style and their own vision of your project, so it's always interesting to see how the characters will look like. So I usually commission artists for the illustrations, and then I set up the cover myself with the text and all.
You do a great job with that. And I think it's interesting when you commission indie art of your characters, because it's you get to see them through someone else's eyes, and it's revealing a new side to them almost.
Yes.
It unlocks a part of my brain.
Yes, it's always an experience.
What has the indie author experience been like for you?
It's been a wild ride, let's say, because I didn't really approach it with the idea of a business or a job. The first book that I published was a contemporary romance, and it was just an experiment. I always loved writing and I always wanted to be published. And so when I first managed to complete a story, I was like, okay, let's just publish this and see how it goes. And so I didn't know anything about publishing. One day I just dropped a book on Amazon and was surprised that it didn't do anything on its own. And so I had to learn as I was already doing it, and it was a really long process, but it's been fun.
I kind of went through the same thing, and you learn as you go, and you look back on your baby author self, and you kind of might cringe a little bit at the same time. It's like, well, everyone starts somewhere, and you get to see that progression of like where you were and where you are now. And not only have you published a lot of books, but you're also really involved in the indie author community. Like right now, you're doing the bundle for the Trans Rights Readathon, and you're involved with the Diverse Baseline.
Yes. I am doing so many things and I cannot keep up.
How do you do it?
Well, I am disabled and I barely get out of my house, so I don't really have a life. My life is online, so I'm doing everything because I'm always online and always lurking, so I always want to do stuff. I see interesting stuff and I want to do interesting stuff in return.
Lurking is the perfect adjective for authors on the internet, I feel like.
Yes.
So you said that, you just wrote a story and you put it on Amazon. Like, what made you decide that you wanted to do it?
I've always wanted to be an author. During my life, I've been through a lot of things, and I always changed the kind of idea of what my future job would be. But my very first idea was always author, and it kind of stayed through the years, despite having other ideas. Writer was always there, kind of hidden somewhere. And so I don't know, I never managed to write a story till the end. So the time that I finally did it, I just kind of had to push myself to publish it so that I could have an excuse and say, this is real now, so you have to take it seriously.
We do take it seriously, but do you still enjoy it? What motivates you to keep going?
I do enjoy it. I think I enjoyed it more now because I changed genres and kind of type of stories that I write. And I found that my current stories were a lot more fun to write and also fun to publish and see reactions from the public. And it's really motivating when, even with, sillier stories, I don't know if silly is the right adjective, but, even with sillier stories, there are readers that come to me and say that they enjoyed the story and also that they felt seen and things like that. And it's always nice to get told something like that.
Yeah, it's like you're providing this little bundle of happiness just in ink and paper. And that's kind of really amazing. And of course, you're going to want to keep doing it. That's like everyone wants to put something good into the world.
Yes.
What stories have inspired you?
Honestly, I think everything. Literally everything I see. Even just tiny details from a movie that are not important to the plot of that story. I don't know. If I think something is cool, then my brain immediately starts thinking of a story where that could also appear and things like that. So I think anything is inspiration and motivation and things like that.
Yeah, and there's a lot of good stuff out there right now. There's always been stories, but I feel like especially right now there's so much and it's really great.
Yeah, there's a world of possibilities, so.
Yeah, and like you say, it's not really silly, but it's just wholesome, and you get to kind of push on the boundaries of what is possible.
Yes.
What are some themes you like to explore or revisit in your writing?
First of all, I'd say queerness in general. I think I explored all of identities in the LGBT spectrum and community, and it's always interesting to try something new, write a different type of feeling or a different type of relationship. You can do everything, basically. All kind of combinations and all kind of things.
Yeah, people are so different, and I think you could spend a long time trying to capture all the different ways that people can love or exist or be, and you do it so well and you explore so many different identities.
Yeah, I love to experiment with all the types of relationships, most of all, I think.
What drew you to your subgenres?
Now I currently write mostly monster romance, monster erotica, and paranormal romance. I don't know, I've started with contemporary romance, and I wanted to focus on that genre, but I went through a slump, and I wasn't really feeling the writing anymore. And then one day I just tried writing something short for myself, And I don't know, I felt that even if the story was like, it had a silly premise and the content was mostly explicit, which is something that I had never tried before, I realized that it was actually fun to write, which I hadn't felt in a while. And so for like the last year, I've only focused on that type of story because it's still fun. So I want to be in that little bubble as long as I can.
Yeah, well, as you change, your writing changes. And so with your stories, we've kind of already talked about this a little bit with what you hope to accomplish with them. What's the goal? I mean, it sounds like, you want to provide a little bit of that happiness to other people too.
Yeah, I want to show people, especially queer people, that they can have the relationship that they dream of. And I also write disabled characters, plus size characters, and I like to show through my writing that all of these people can have what they dream of. They can have friends, they can have relationships, and they can be loved. And I don't know, maybe it's cheesy, but I always like to show that these people can be loved, because I also need to tell it to myself, so I do it through my writing.
Yeah, I feel that. Are there any books that you like? Do you have any favorites or any characters like you've really connected to?
I think my debut book with this pen name, which is In the Care of Magic, it was the experiment that I was talking about that started as a short story for myself. Then eventually it became a novella. And it was my first time writing a plus-size main character, which made me realize that writing about like a bigger body being loved was also helping me love my own body more. It was my first time writing neopronouns, which is something that I've always wanted to try, but I was scared to because I wasn't really an expert. I wasn't used to them, so I wasn't sure what to do, if to include them, if readers would read them without problems or if they would complain. And so it was an experiment for this as well. And their relationship in this book is also extremely important to me because it's not romantic, it's a queer platonic relationship, which is kind of my dream. So these characters and this story is very dear to me for many, many reasons.
It sounds like it. And I really, truly love reading queer platonic relationships as well. I feel like there's just something special there, and I really connect to them. And we need more stories with that. Do you think your favorite character would be from that book?
Probably, I think the demon in the book, Lyle. I think she is very much like me in some ways.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I too would like to date Zir Witch.
Yeah. And you said, you were nervous about it coming out. How did your experimenting turn out? Was the reception pretty good when it came to trying out the neopronouns and just being a different kind of book?
Well, I'm going to sound bitter just for a while. There's still readers who complain about the neopronouns, about them being too difficult. And I don't know, like some people came to me specifically, wrote me emails or DMs to tell me how difficult it was, but there was a layer of transphobia in the way they said it, so I don't take it to heart. And I'm really happy that this book was like some people's first introduction to neopronouns, and some people learned with the book, so it was kind of helpful to some. At least there's that.
Yeah, and you can be that good first experience for somebody. I have written them before, and it can be difficult to write, and I can, but then once you get the hang of it, then it's just like anything else, you just got to put the effort in.
Yeah, it's just because we're not used to it. They're new, they're maybe unusual to some people, but they work the same way as other pronouns, so you just have to practice a little bit and realize how to form a sentence with one of those pronouns, and then it just, you kind of use it the way you use other pronouns.
Right, exactly. Do you have any advice for up-and-coming authors?
Definitely don't do the things that I did, as in try to learn how publishing works before publishing a book. at least try to be in writing circles to try and see what other authors are doing so that you can better prepare yourself.
Yeah, every stage is publishing, but I do think that there's a lot to learn, and just because you can put it on the internet doesn't mean it's gonna sell. So you have to, like you say, take your time, connect with other people.
Yeah, there's so much to learn about marketing, about how to be online, what to do, what to not to do.
So right now it's the Trans Rights Readathon, and you put together these stories for Trans Rights Readathon bundle, and it has been going fantastic, I think.
I'm kind of in shock still because I've organized a bundle last year with just a couple of other authors, and we marketed the bundle, but it wasn't very successful yet. And so when I remembered that the readathon was coming up, I thought I could try again and maybe do some things a little differently and also do like a bigger project. And it was an experiment. It was an experiment and it went really well.
Now we have 6 days left. And was this our third goal or fourth goal?
I think fourth.
Yeah, of 12,000. And we're 99% of the way there.
Yeah.
And that to me is just amazing.
I honestly had no idea if it was going to be successful or not. So this is really surprising, even for me.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was done really well. I think there's a lot of good people in it that have just been sharing it back and forth. I mean, there's a lot of great stuff in here, though. Like, I still scroll through it and look at it all. Like,
oh yeah, I got the bundle for myself as well because there were so many books on there that I wanted to read, so I took the chance.
Yeah, I've been kind of waiting because I was like, I'll wait till the end and then I'll get it. But I don't know, I felt like mine wouldn't count, so I was like, I'll wait till the end and I'll get it. Do you think that you'll do something like this again?
I definitely want to do something like this again. This time it was specific for the readathon, but the genres and the content of the works was pretty general and spread into different topics and genres. In the future, I think I want to do more specific bundles, like one only for monster romance, another one for, I don't know, queer platonic relationships, if we find enough books on itch.io with that, for example.
Yeah, it seems like a lot more authors are going there. Do you like selling books on there in general?
I didn't really have many sales on itch.io because I didn't really market the book sending people to itch.io, but I did have some organic sales. So even without marketing, it was still nice. And it's definitely a really good platform for indie publishing for many reasons. I think I plan to make a post about this because I do want people to join itch.io so that we can make it more of a book publishing platform. Because it has so many features that can help authors, and you have so much freedom compared to other retailers. So I think it could be the next step of indie publishing.
Yeah, it really seems to be geared towards indie creatives in general, and just, I know a few people have their audiobooks on there, and I was like, I gotta figure out how to do that.
Yeah, there are so many audiobooks as well.
So in addition to itch.io, where can listeners find you?
Well, I have a website, author.robinjomargaret.com, and I have this thing where I have to organize everything. So you can find some pages where I organize my books by retailers, like the ones that are exclusive to Kindle Unlimited, the ones that are wide. But I also have pages with info about like how my books connect to each other, the ones that are not officially part of the same series. And I have a lot of random info that I like to organize. So my website is full of things if you have time to waste and want to look at the pages.
I was checking it out. I thought it was pretty cool. The different ways you had it set up.
Sometimes I just go and add stuff because it's fun to create your own website and your own pages, and you can include whatever you want.
Yeah, all the lore.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for chatting with me, and I can't wait to see what comes out next. She Monster romances and Krampuses and all that good stuff.
Thank you for having me.
Of course.